Adventurous kids explore with education and learning what a wild life is in the Everglades. I want to explore the Museum of Discovery Science. What plants do butterflies like? I want to know about Key West. Adventurous kids, learning and fun. Adventurous kids!
Today I'm going to tell you about social distancing and quarantine. In public health, social distancing, also called physical distancing, is a set of non-pharmaceutical interventions or measures intended to prevent the spread of contagious disease by maintaining a physical distance between people and reducing the numbers of times people come into close contact with each other. It typically involves keeping a certain distance from others. The distance specified may differ from time to time and country to country, and avoiding gathering together in large groups. A quarantine is a restriction on the movement of people and goods, which is intended to prevent the spread of diseases or pests. It is often used in connection to disease and illness, preventing the movement of those who may have been exposed to a communicable disease but do not have a confirmed medical diagnosis. It is distinct from medical isolation, in which those confirmed to be infected with a communicable disease are isolated from the healthy population. Quarantine considerations are often one aspect of the border control. The concept of quarantine has been known since biblical times and is known to have been practiced through history in various places. Notable quarantines in modern history include that of the village of Ayam in 1665 during the bubonic plague outbreak in England. I told you guys this thing was worse than the plague. I just added that effect. But I tell you guys, this coronavirus is worse than the plague. Sheesh. I think it's worse than the plague, the coronavirus. Samoa during the 1918 flu pandemic, the 1972 Yugoslavic smallpox outbreak, and extensive quarantines applied throughout the world during the COVID-19 pandemic. Oh gosh. I had to jinx it. During the COVID-19 pandemic, social distancing and related measures are emphasized by several governments as alternatives to an enforced quarantine of heavily affected areas. According to UNESCO, during more than 100 countries implemented nationwide school closures in response to COVID-19, impacting over half the world's student population. In the United Kingdom, the government advised the public to avoid public spaces, and cinemas and theaters voluntarily closed to encourage the government's message. Stay at least 6 feet, about 2 arms length from other people. Do not gather in groups. Stay out of crowded places and avoid mass gatherings, in addition to everyday steps to prevent COVID-19. Keeping space between you and others is one of the best tools we have to avoiding being exposed to this virus and slowing its spread locally and across the country and world. Limit close contact with others outside your household and indoor and outdoor spaces. Since people can spread the virus before they know they are sick, it is important to stay away from others when possible, even if you or they have no symptoms. Social distancing is especially important for people who are at higher risk for severe illnesses from COVID-19. Why practice social distancing? COVID-19 spreads mainly among people who are in close contact within about 6 feet for a prolonged period. Spread happens when an infected person coughs, sneezes, or talks, and droplets from their mouth or nose are launched into the air and land in the mouths or noses of the people nearby. Droplets can also be inhaled into the lungs. Recent studies indicate that people who are infected but do not have symptoms likely also play a role in the spread of COVID-19. It may be possible that a person can get COVID-19 by touching a surface or object that has the virus on it and then touching their own mouth or nose or eyes. However, this is not thought to be the main way the virus spreads. COVID-19 can live for hours or days on this surface, depending on factors such as sunlight, humidity, type of surface. Social distancing helps limit opportunities to come in contact with contaminated surfaces in infected people outside home. Although the risk of severe illness may be different for everyone, anyone can get and spread COVID-19. Everyone has a role to play in slowing the spread and protecting themselves, their family, and their community. Tips for social distancing. Follow guidance from authorities where you live. If you need to shop for food or medicine at the grocery store or pharmacy, stay at least 6 feet away from others. Also consider other options. Use mail order for medications if possible. Consider a grocery store delivery service. Cover your mouth and nose with a cloth. Face covering and around others when you have to go out in public. For example, to the grocery store. Cloth face coverings should not be placed on children under age 2 who has trouble breathing or is unconscious, incapacitated, or otherwise unable to remove the mask without assistance. Keep at least 6 feet between yourself and others, even when you wear a face covering. Avoid gatherings of any size outside your household, such as a friend's house, parks, or restaurants, shops, or any other place. This advice applies to people of any age, including teens and younger adults. Children should not have in-person play dates while school is out. To help maintain social connections while social distancing, learn tips to keep children healthy while school is out. Work from home when possible. Limit using any kind of public transportation, ride sharing, or taxis if possible. If you must use public transportation, follow these tips to protect yourself. If you are a student or parent, talk to your school about options for digital distance learning. Stay connected while staying away. It is very important to stay in touch with friends and family that do not live in your home. Call, video chat, or stay connected using social media. Everyone reacts differently to stressful situations, and having to socially distance yourself from someone you love can be difficult. Isolation and quarantine help protect the public by preventing exposure to people who have or may have a contagious disease. Isolation separates sick people with a contagious disease from people who are not sick. Quarantine separates and restricts movement of people who are exposed to a contagious disease to see if they become sick. Quarantines may be used during outbreaks when there's a sudden rise in the number of cases of a disease. Epidemics, similar to outbreaks, are generally considered larger and more widespread. Pandemics, larger than epidemics, generally global in nature and affect more people. Constitution, yes. The federal government can use isolation and quarantine to protect people from contagious diseases. States also have the authority to institute isolations or quarantines Breaking quarantine has consequences that range from a fine to imprisonment, but government-mandated quarantines are rare. We have to go all the way back to the infamous Spanish flu pandemic of 1918 to 1919. The last enforced large-scale isolation and quarantine, according to the U.S. Center for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, in response to suspected or confirmed coronavirus exposure, some have been asked to self-quarantine. While it's highly recommended that you do, these quarantines are currently voluntary. During the COVID-19 pandemic, multiple governments enacted quarantines in an effort to curb the rapid spread of the virus. On March 26, 2020, 1.7 billion people worldwide were under some form of lockdown, which increased to 2.6 billion people. 2 days later, a third of the world's population, as of April 1st, 2020, more than 280 million people, or about 86% of the population, are under some form of lockdown in the United States, and 9 million people are in lockdown. South Africa, India quarantined itself from the world for a period of 1 month. Self-quarantine or self-isolation is a popular term that emerged during the COVID-19 pandemic, which spread to most countries in 2020. Citizens able to do so were encouraged to stay home to curb the spread of the disease. What happens to you when you are quarantined? While not all quarantines are the same, look to the CDC for how best to do your part. Currently, the CDC recommends make it a staycation. Avoid leaving the house unless absolutely necessary. That means following all shelter-in-places or in your area call ahead, while your local state health department will most likely keep tabs on your health. You may need to see your doctor too. First, try a virtual visit, or at least call ahead first so that the medical facility can take steps to prevent others from getting infected. Is Dr. Gordon worried about Fido? At this time, CDC says there is no evidence that companion animals, including pets, can spread COVID-19. It may still be good to use caution. If you've been exposed to COVID-19, avoid petting, snuggling, being kissed or licked, sharing food during a coronavirus quarantine. Recommends the CDC. Have your own stuff. Don't swap unwashed dishes, drinking glasses, cups, eating utensils, towels, or bedding while other people or pets are in your home. As the CDC, wash, rinse, repeat. Hygiene is an integral part of this, even at home. Hand washing should be your first line of defense when under quarantine, relieves Dr. Gordon. And don't forget to cough or sneeze into your elbows or a tissue that we then throw away. Other protective measures, quarantine and social distancing, aren't the only way to protect yourself during the epidemic. Wear a cloth face mask. The CDC now recommends doing so in public, especially in places where it's hard to maintain at least 6 feet of distance between yourself and another person. Staying calm while fear is normal. Educating yourself is a great way to counterbalance your anxiety. Says Dr. Gordon, staying informed from reliable sources, but not too intensely. Hyperfixating on the news can be just as detrimental. Cooperating with the authorities, following quarantine and other public health mandates like shelter-in-place orders help slow and stop the spread of contagious diseases. Before putting on a mask, clean hands with alcohol-based hand rub or soap. Cover mouth and nose with mask and make sure there are no gaps between your face and the mask. Avoid touching the mask while using it. If you do, clean your hands with alcohol-based rub or soap and water. Replace the mask with a new one as soon as it is damp, and do not reuse single-use masks. To remove the mask, remove it from behind. Do not touch the front of the mask. Discard in a clothesbin. Clean hands with alcohol-based hand rub or soap and water. When and how to wear medical masks to protect against coronavirus. If you are healthy, you only need to wear a mask if you are taking care of a person with COVID-19. Wear a mask if you are coughing or sneezing. Masks are effective only when used in combination. Frequent hand cleaning with alcohol-based hand rub or soap and water. If you wear a mask, then you must know how to use it and dispose of it properly. Thank you for watching this episode of Adventurous Kids.
What did you learn today? Adventurous Kids! Adventurous Kids! What was the most interesting fact? Adventurous Kids! Adventurous Kids! Adventurous Kids! Yeah!